money centered more than Krishna centered. So go to Vrindavan, but tad anuragi jana, find someone who is devoted to Krishna, who has anurag, who has deep attachment to Krishna. And jana anugami. Anugami means follow that person, learn from them how to live in Krishna, how to love Krishna. And in this way, kalam nayedakhilam. In this way, spend your whole life, all the time engaged in this way. Itti upadesha saram. This is the essence of all advice. In one sense, at this point, he's giving the essence and concluding the Updeshamrit. This is the essence of all advice I can give you. So everything that he has told, it's all meant to help us become absorbed in Krishna. And in our lives, as devotees, we often follow many rules. And the rules are important, but the purpose is not following rules. The purpose is finding love. We want to experience Krishna in our hearts, and we want to share that experience with others. And the rules are meant to help us find Krishna. If we get so caught in following the rules and judging whether others are following the rules or not, judging ourselves and not following this rule properly, we get so caught in that, then we might miss Krishna. So he's saying that Ityupadeshasaram. This is the essence of all advice. All the rules of bhakti are said to be subordinated to principles. Smartavya satatam Vishnu, Vismartavyam najatu chet. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So suppose we are encountering devotees and we say, oh, this devotee, as soon as we see a devotee, we don't think, oh, this devotee is remembering Krishna among the millions of souls. This person is actually one soul who chants Krishna's names, one who remembers Krishna. Instead, we think, oh, this person didn't do that service well. This person doesn't wake up in the morning. This person doesn't follow this rule. Then unfortunately, we may not be Krishna conscious. So there are rules, but the purpose of it all is to absorb ourselves in Krishna. Itti upadesha saram. This is the essence of all advice. So let's try to analyze this advice further now. What it means. So bhakti is an inner journey toward Krishna. And what is the journey? First, there is conscientious contemplation. And from that, we come to spontaneous absorption. These words might sound big, but it's something simple to understand. Conscientious contemplation. There is an innate psychological principle by which is used in the principles in the practice of bhakti. So in general, whatever we contemplate repeatedly, over time, we get comfortable with it, and eventually we become attached to it. Say, now most of you are in the Middle East, and suppose there is a particular sports that is there any sport that is very popular in the Middle East and not popular in India?
Football.
Football. Okay, good example. So then maybe some of football mania is catching up among the young in India also, but not that much. It's much more cricket. So now, initially, football might not seem very attractive, but suppose your colleagues are talking about football, your neighbors are talking about it, and then maybe you keep meeting people, and that's the conversation. And then you get to watch some things, and then gradually you get interested. And say there are Indian students who go to America and they know nothing about baseball or rugby, and within 6 months they are passionate fans of baseball or rugby. Now we could say this is simply how mundane attachment entangles, but that's true at one level. But the point is that what we contemplate consciously, we gravitate toward it unconsciously. I'll repeat this. Whatever we contemplate consciously, we will gravitate toward it gradually unconsciously. So if somebody every time say they pick up a newspaper or go to news site, and the first thing they look at is a sports page, or they look at the sports page once, twice, thrice, 4 times, then over a period of time, as soon as they go on the news site, they'll go to the sports page. They will not even think about it, they'll naturally go there. or they have a few minutes. Maybe they are waiting to meet someone. A few minutes, they pick up the phone and immediately go there. So this applies in material life, and we all have experience of this. How we get habituated to certain things, but that habituation can be put to great use in bhakti. That if we just expose ourselves to Krishna constantly, and not just expose ourselves physically to a Krishna conscious environment, but expose ourselves internally also to remembrance of Krishna, then by that gradually we'll become attracted, and that attraction will increase more and more and more. And so from conscientious means effortful, and that is what sadhana bhakti. The initial stages of bhakti are is rule bound, it's discipline bound. But from that, we will come to Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous Bhakti. So from the conscientious comes the spontaneous. And this verse is talking about that inner journey. Now we may feel maybe I'm too far away from it, but there are some aspects of Krishna Bhakti toward with which you may gravitate quickly, naturally. So some of us may like classes, some of us may like darshan, some of us may like kirtan. And if we have a few minutes in spare, now we may not want to immediately pick up our beads and chant extra round. Some of us might also, but there is something which we can, if we keep conscientiously absorbing ourselves in, we can cultivate attraction toward it. And that is how the dynamic of bhakti works. This is the inner journey from conscientious contemplation to spontaneous absorption. And how does this go about happening? So here there are different stages of remembrance that are described by Srila Prabhupada in his purport based on the writings of the previous acharyas, primarily Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he said there is Shravan Dasha, Varan Dasha, Smaranavastha, and then lastly there is Sampatti Dasha. So let's look at what this means. Shravana Dasha, Dasha Bradley means condition. So that is the condition where we consciously expose ourselves to hearing, here, Shravan Dasha. And this is all a part of conscientious absorption or consciousness contemplation. We expose ourselves to hearing, and then from hearing comes Varan. Varan is actually, it goes inside. Sometimes we hear some things, but we are not really hearing. We just, as a chore, we are doing it. Then it comes in from one ear and it goes out from the other. But after hearing, at the end of a class, if we just think, okay, what was one point that struck me? And then maybe just repeat, speak it in your own words. Now, one way to do Varan Dasha, to go. Can we just keep all participants muted, please? So one simple way to go from Shravan to Varan, from hearing to accepting, assimilating, internalizing, is trying to articulate. Take one point and articulate it in your own words. Okay, this was the point. And try to, maybe nowadays social media is there, WhatsApp groups are there, share it with someone. Or just note it down. And if we articulate even one point, see, if we hear a class, we might think it was a wonderful class, but we may not remember anything. But if we hear it and then speak a point to someone, our chances of remembering it much, much more. Acceptance. And then from there, smaranavastha. Smaran means we become absorbed in remembering it. And then we remember, and not just remember, we chant. Remember and speak about it. So as an actual expression of smaran is varanan. We speak about it, kirtan. But then the last stage is Sampatti Dasha. Sampatti means that is our eternal treasure that is revealed to us. We come to know what is our position in our relationship with Krishna. What is it? Who are we? Not just that I am not the body, I am the soul, but as a soul, I have a Swarupa. I have an eternal form in the spiritual world. And I have an eternal personal relationship with Krishna. So that is revealed. Now, Sampatti Dasha may seem to be a very far away prospect for us, but still it is an important stage. It is the culmination toward which we are going. And now these are not necessarily discrete stages. they keep moving on. They are flowing. So even when our relationship is revealed, we keep hearing. Maybe at that time we may like to hear particularly about Krishna in a particular mood, because that's our relationship with Krishna. But these are progressive, so they keep building. So it's not just linear; it's cyclic. We keep hearing all of this. We keep going through this. So one way to do this is, so if you are hearing a pastime, imagine that, say, now Radhashtami is coming soon, and in the future verses we'll be talking about Radharani also. But so when you're hearing a pastime, try to visualize if you were there in that pastime. Not that we want to presumptuously imagine that we're there, but if we were there, what would we see? What would we think? What would we feel? So at the time when Radharani and Krishna, the first time meeting each other, till then Radharani is, think about the situation. So here, oh, I'm such a impure, unqualified soul, but somehow I've been blessed to be in this domain. And there I see Krishna. He's crawling, moving toward the crèche in which, bassinet in which Radharani is. And she's Radha, she's a small baby. And she has never cried, she has never opened her eyes till now, and her parents had anxiety, and Krishna crawls over. Here is Krishna holding on holding on to the bassinet, rising up and peering inside. And as soon as Krishna peers inside, wonder of wonder, what happens? Now Radharani, little Radha, she opens her eyes for the first time and she smiles and she's delighted to see her beloved Lord. Now, what wondrous love is this? In this world, we often talk about love at first sight. The idea is that one person sees another and falls in love. But in the case of Radharani, what is it? It is not love at first sight. It is the first sight of love. The first sight that somebody wants is the object of love. So how divine, how sweet, how enriching is this exchange of love. So when we try to accept that pastime, enter into that pastime, our remembrance can go to a categorically different level. And that is what we all can do to progress. Don't just hear Krishna Lila as stories which I already know. Try to accept it. Now, how do we accept that remembrance? By, by, by assimilating it more, by placing ourselves in it. Krishna Lila is not meant to entertain. It is meant to be entered into. When many movies we watch, it's entertainment. But actually, even in movies, people feel really entertained when they enter into the movie. They forget everything else and they get absorbed. And the movies are unreal. Krishna Lila is trans-real. It is a higher reality, a transcendental reality. So this is how we all can get absorbed in Krishna. So this was verse 8. And each of us need to take responsibility to move from conscientious absorption to spontaneous absorption. Now let's look at, so verse, in the overall overview of the nectar of instruction, I said that with 8th verse, the instructions more or less are ending. And see, there is instruction, do this, don't do this. But then after this, now it's relishing. See, we don't just want to explain Krishna Bhakti to others. We want to experience Krishna Bhakti ourselves. We want to experience Krishna and we want to relish that experience. So here, Rupa Goswami signs off by giving us that experience to relish. And what does he say over here? He's describing the various places in Vrindavan and how the vision of Radha, what is the highest in Vrindavan? So Vaikuntha Janito Vara Madhupuri Tatrapi Rasotsavan Vrindaranya Mudara Pani Ramana Tatrapi Govardhana Radha Kundamihapi Gokulapate Premamrita Plavanat Kuryadasya Virajato Giritate Sevam Viveki Nakaha. So he's describing a hierarchy over here. Vaikuntha Janito Vara. Greater than Vaikuntha is Mathura. Tatrapi Rasotsavad. Higher than Mathura is Vrindavan. Hmm. Where Raslilas performed. And then Udara Pani Ramana Tatrapi Govardhanaha. And in Vrindavan also, Govardhan is more special. And Govardhan, Radha Kunda is special. Gokulpate Premamrita Plavanat. And this is where there is the love of Krishna in liquefied form in this river. Kuryadasya virajato giritate sevam. Who will not want to reside at this place, at the foothills of Vrindavan, at the foothills of Giritate of Govardhan, and perform seva? Viveki nakaha. It's a rhetorical question. Who will not want to do it? So it's if we know that now in today's world, if the pandemic all around us, and if somebody develops a vaccine which is well tested and which is known to work, so who will not take it? So there's a rhetorical question, means everyone will take it. So it's like an idea, Viveki Naka, who will not take it? Who will not want this? So here he's describing how to relish Vrindavan Bhakti. So now here we will try to understand this from step by step. First, let's understand the whole mystery of a dham. That Vrindavan, we may say, it's in North India. I can take a plane to Delhi and I can take a car and I can go to Vrindavan. And like that, I can go to any other place in any part of the world. I can go to London, I can go to New York. So what makes Vrindavan different? Yes, Vrindavan is a place in the material world within India, but it is more than that. So to understand this, imagine the whole universe is like a big mainframe computer. Hmm? And if you have worked on big computers, sometimes you work on it, and then this file is not accessible to you, or this drive is not accessible to you. Seek permission from your administrator. So why is that? Because maybe those files are very important, and say a clerk who is simply an entry operator, that person might have a particular level of access. Then we have a manager might have higher level access. Then somebody who is in the board of directors, they might have much greater or complete access. So like that, the universe is like a mainframe computer. And there is the concept of adhikar. Adhikar means here authority or qualification. And based on our level of adhikar, we can perceive various things. How does the adhikar come? It comes by training, it comes by purity, and different users can access different things. So a simple example to illustrate this point, say imagine somebody is watching Bharatnatyam. Now suppose somebody is a young person filled with a high libido and all sensual desires. Then there is somebody who is more aesthetic, artistic of temperament. That second person. And there's a third person who is not just artistic, but who is well versed in Krishna Lila. And say, then maybe there are the gopis singing about Krishna, how Krishna comes and steals butter from them, or how Krishna accosts the gopis in the forests and then takes away their butter pots or does mischief with them. So now all the gopis are singing, dancing, or rather they're dancing and gesticulating. Now, if imagine there is no verbal song accompanying it. Now, somebody who simply has a high libido, that person will see only there are sensually attractive forms, and that person doesn't have the adhikar to see anything more over there, because all that the level of consciousness is sensual desires. But a person with artistic temperament, yes, that person will see, okay, there are these attractive uh, forms, attractive female forms, but they are doing such a beautiful dance, and there will be attraction to the art more to the sensuality. Now imagine somebody who not only has an artistic temperament, but they also know about Krishna Lila, and they see, okay, this hands are being done like this, the eyes are doing like this. What does this mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And then their level of appreciation will be much different. because they're not just seeing sensual forms. They're not just seeing, they're not seeing sensual forms. They're not just seeing artistic temperament. Actually, they're seeing Krishna Lila being depicted over there. So this is, so at one level, it's the same dance being performed, but depending on adhikar, it is perceived differently. So similarly, we all may go to Vrindavan, but based on our adhikar, somebody might go and somebody might just see, oh, there is so much dirt and filth and so much poverty and so much commercialism, uh, so much, all these things are there. And I think this is who sees, what foolish people think this is spiritual. This is just mundane. And let me get a good deal. Let me buy some tourist items and get out of here. So that's one level of seeing it. Somebody else says, oh, there's a beautiful architecture over here. That's nice. I want to take some photos of the temples. I want to look at the historical buildings. And they go back. Third is somebody who knows about Krishna Lila. Oh, this is the place where Rupa Goswami found, where Rupa Goswami say built a temple. This is the place where Sanatan Goswami did bhajan. This is the place where these saints saw the darshan of Krishna. So the experience will be categorically different. So that's how the principle of adhikar is very important. So how do we see the spiritual world manifesting in the material world? We have to increase our adhikar. And how do we increase our adhikar? That's the next point. How can we see the dham? There are three things which will help us expand our perception. First, we need to hear the scriptural description. We need to hear, okay, okay, Krishna performed this Govardhan Leela, Krishna performed that Leela. Hear about it. And then after hearing about it, then we go to that place. Oh, this is the same Govardhan. This is the place where we see with our eyes, oh, this is so big. This is the river, this is Radha Kund, this is Govinda Kund. There is sensory perception. We perceive with our eyes. And the third thing is, there is spiritual revelation that will gradually come by devotional contemplation. So what we can do is devotional contemplation, and we wait for spiritual revelation. So, so when we go to Vrindavan, what do? We either hear the Leela, we have heard the Leela, the scriptural description is with us, or we go to some devotees who speak that to us, that scriptural description. And then we perceive. If we just see with our eyes, it might just be like a tourist thing. And then we feel there are so many other tourist places which are better. But we had taken a group of about 20-25 Americans who had not even been to a ISKCON temple. They are more from the yoga crowd. We had taken them to Vrindavan. And then along the way, we spoke about Krishna and Radha, and we explained this intimate, sweet conception of divinity. And then, so naturally, because they were in India, they wanted to go to Taj Mahal. They visit Taj Mahal. And then they came to Vrindavan, and then we took them to Kusum Sarovar. And almost all of them said, the Kusum Sarovar is so much more beautiful than the Kusum Sarovar is so much more beautiful than Taj Mahal. It's so peaceful, it's so serene, it's so spiritual. So now if they just come visit it, they might not have felt that. But because there was a scriptural description, then there was a sensory perception, and then there was some amount of spiritual revelation. Doesn't necessarily mean one has to see Krishna dancing with Radharani. That can also happen. But at least we do the devotional contemplation by which the spiritual revelation will happen. Contemplation means we consciously think. Revelation means it is revealed to us. We start seeing it. This is how we all can see the Dham, and we all can grow spiritually. So this is the idea of the spiritual manifesting in the material world. And this verse talks about the hierarchy of holy places. As I mentioned, Vaikuntha, then the Mathura, then Vrindavan, then Govardhan Hill, then Radha Kund. So Radha Kund is where Radharani, Radha Kund is the place where Radharani actually, she was longing to behold Krishna. There's a whole beautiful story which I'll go into in a later section, but it is the place where it is said liquefied love of Radha and Krishna are present. So we'll come to that in the last verse. So now we may say by this, are you really saying that Vaikuntha is not great? So Vaikuntha is the goal where people want to go. So then we have to understand that in the spiritual world there can be many bests, because Krishna can manifest himself in many forms. And rasa means subjective experience of reality. We want a rasa in Krishna Bhakti. So if somebody is a Rama Bhakta and they go to Ayodhya, then they will feel Ram is the source of all avatars. Ram is the best of all avatars. I just want to remember Ram. I don't want to remember anyone else. So Kathanchana Kanchanana Jakjatu Bhaje. So it's described that Kalavenu Ravavasya Gopavadhu Shatakoti Vratatsmara Koti Saman Pratiballavika Sukhadat Vasudeva Sutan Param Kalaye. And I just want to behold that Krishna who, when he plays his flute, one after one, dozens and then hundreds of gopis get pulled. Krishna's flute song is like a rope thrown to the hearts of the gopis, and the gopis feel pulled. And when they come, there are hundreds and thousands and millions of gopis. Yet every gopi feels that Krishna is loving her and her alone. And she feels exclusively and completely loved by Krishna, such a wonderful Lord who personally reciprocates with everyone. What do I need anything else for? So this is the experience of Krishna. And Krishna might be revealing himself to one gopi, but that doesn't mean he's unavailable to another gopi. That's why there is the concept of many bests in the spiritual world. So for a Rama Bhakta, Ram is the best. For a Vishnu Bhakta, Vishnu is the best. And for them, that is the subjective experience. And we need to respect that. So that's how the point here is not to minimize Vaikuntha. The point is, Rupa Goswami is in the mood of pure devotion in the Madhurya Ras. And therein he is experiencing Radharani in a particular way. And thus he says that part of Radharani, that sacred place of Radharani, Radhakund is the best. So yes, there can be many bests in the spiritual world. And simultaneously, we could say no. Because objective reality has gradations independent of subjective experience. What does that mean? That means that, say, imagine there are 5 glasses of water and all of them are full, but one is 1 liter, the second is 2 liters, third is 3 liters, the fourth is 4 liter, the fifth is 5 liter. So all the glasses are full. Now, are all of their fullness equal? Well, in the fact that they're full, they're equal, but their fullness is not equal, because one glass fullness is 1 liter, another glass fullness is 5 liters. So, so Ram does not have so much Bala Leela. Krishna has such endearing Bala Leela. Vishnu doesn't have Vatsalya Ras, where Vishnu doesn't have parents. So it's one God. Vishnu, Krishna, Ram are all one gods, but that God's personality, intimacy, sweetness are revealed much more in Krishna than in anyone else. And that is, in one sense, objective reality. So Radharani experiences Krishna like no one else, because her adhikar, her love for Krishna is so great that her intimate experience of Krishna is closer than that of anyone else. That is the concept of, so he's, when he's Rupa Goswami is saying, this Radha Kund is the topmost of all places. So it is true. It is true. It's superlative, supreme truth at one level. Now let's go to the 10th text. So now he is giving an analysis from a different perspective. Earlier I said that to experience the dham, we need adhikar. And how does the adhikar come? Who has that adhikar? That is being described in the 10th verse now. Karmibhya parito hare priyataya vyaktimya yurgyaninas tebhyo jnana vimukta bhakti paramah premai kanishtaika tebhyas ta pashupal pankaj drushas ताभ्योऽपि साराधिका प्रेष्ठा तद्वन् इयं तदीयसरसितां नाश्रयेत् काकृति. So karmis are material people who live for material gain. Parito harehe priyataya. So he's giving a hierarchy of different people. Better than those who are seeking material gains are those who are seeking intellectual growth, jnani. Beyond them, jnana vimukta bhakti paramaha. So, but those who have transcended the pursuit of knowledge and have reached the experience of love, they are best. And then, even in that, those who are loving Krishna, Pashupala Pankaj Drushas, they are the best. And even among them, those who are loving Krishna in the mood of Radhika, there is no one greater than them. And therefore, who will not take a of Naashrayad? Who will not take shelter of Naashrayad, of Radharani in the mood Tadiya Sarasi in Radha Kund? So Rupa Goswami composed the Updeshamrita Radha Kunda, and he's giving us an experience of the sweetness of Radha Kunda over here. So now, often we talk about, do all paths lead to the same goal? But here I talk about, do all paths lead to the same God? At one level, some people might be personalists and impersonalists, but now there are many different ways by which we all can grow toward Krishna. So the answer is, like earlier, yes and no. What do we mean by that? That yes, in the sense that many paths can help us to grow spiritually. So even if somebody who follows karma in the sense that they take up responsibility in their lives, they fulfill their social obligations, and they contribute to society, they develop a certain level of ethos of selflessness and service, they are growing in their consciousness. At one level, we could say spiritual growth is the expansion of our consciousness from self-centeredness to Krishna-centeredness. Now, sometimes that growth might require from self to my family, from family to my community, from my community to my country, from my country to the whole planet, to humanity, from humanity to the whole planet and the environment and the animals. Like that, it might expand, expand, expand. So, any process that helps in the expansion of our consciousness is good. But if somebody is a great environmental activist, does that mean that they will get to Krishna by their environmental activism? No, because they need to. It's good that they are thinking of something beyond just their own sensual gains, but to get to Krishna, they actually need to see this environment as coming from Krishna, as sustained by Krishna, and as meant to point our consciousness toward Krishna. So, all paths may not take us all the way to the same goal. So, is nationalism good? Well, it depends. If if somebody is just self-centered and they're thinking, how can I make big money? And beyond that, instead of that, somebody starts thinking that, how can I serve my country? That's good. That's the expansion of consciousness. But if somebody starts thinking that I'm being a nationalist, so I don't need bhakti, I don't need spirituality, then what happens is the good can often become the biggest enemy of the best. So nationalism is definitely good. It's better than self-centeredness. But if in the pursuit of, I'm just giving nationalism as an example, it could be environmentalism, it could be any ism, any cause, it could be. Then that if somebody nowadays, a lot of people are becoming vegetarian, especially vegan, that's good. But if veganism becomes the biggest cause for somebody, and then they forget the biggest cause, that could be a problem. That can help them grow, but not all paths may take us all the way to the same goal. Similarly, Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, these are all paths within the Vedic tradition, and they are all meant to expand our consciousness. But they can't expand our consciousness all the way. So now here, it's so hierarchy of, you could say, people over here. So what is the hierarchy of people? That we have Vikarmi. Vikarmi is those people who are doing Viruddha Rupena Karma. They are living disharmoniously. So they are destroying the environment. They are indiscriminately killing life forms. So those are people. See, broadly speaking, the basic principle of living in harmony is that it's not just sectarian morality, it is basically a harmonious belonging. Just like, say, if you are driving on a road, then just by entering on the road, we are belonging to a whole bigger than ourselves. That is the road transport system. And we need to follow the rules. If we don't follow the rules, we might get into trouble sooner or later. So vikarmis are those who, so that means what? When you're going on a road, we take something. What is that we take? We take the facility of the road transport system and we give something. What do we give at the basic level? We give our obedience in the form of sticking to our side, our lane, following the rules in terms of signal and everything. So if somebody only takes and doesn't give, then they are disruptors. So vikarmis are disruptors like that. Those who take but don't give. Karmis, they take and give, but they don't have a bigger picture of what life is meant for. Then Jnani is, they realize, okay, I'm taking for the environment, giving to the environment, but I'm giving to the social environment, the bigger environment. But what is the point of it all? I live for some time and then I die. What is it all meant for? So the Jnani starts thinking a little bigger after that. Then the Bhaktas understand the point of all this is love. There is the ultimate loving reality, and I want to love that reality and be loved by that reality. That is Bhaktas. And among all those Bhaktas, the Gopis are the highest. Why? There are many reasons, but one simple reason is that most people love God for what God does for them. Oh, why do you believe in God? Oh, at that time I had that problem, I prayed and my problem went away. Oh, that means what? God did this for me, therefore I believe in him, I worship him, I to some extent love him. But the gopis love Krishna not because Krishna does something for them. It is because they just want to want to just give themselves to Krishna. Now, difference between lust and love is that do I care for you because I need you, or do I need you? Do I? So if I need you and so I care for you, then that is lust. That means you are doing something for me, and that's why I'm doing something for you. So if need comes before because I care, so then sorry, if the care comes because of need, then that is lust. On the other hand, love is when I care for you, so I need you. I care for you, and therefore, in order to care for you, I need you. I need to be in your life. I need you to be in my life, and that is love. So is it self-centered or is the other person centered? So for the gopis, their love for Krishna is completely other-centered, completely centered in Krishna. And that's why they are the highest. And among all gopis, Radharani is the highest, by far the highest. Why? Because her love is the most selfless for Krishna. She thinks about Krishna the most. She meditates on how best to please Krishna. And Krishna feels the most joy in her presence. So this is the hierarchy which is described in this verse. Now, of course, why is it that Radharani's love for Krishna is the greatest? Well, we can't put a why on people and personality. It is just that Radharani is Krishna in female form. Just as God is the greatest of all beings, so God is the greatest of all devotees also. When God manifests as a devotee, then he manifests as the greatest of all devotees. So at one level, Radharani is a devotee, at another level, Radharani is Krishna himself. Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. They are one person. That Ek Atma Dui Deha Dhari. They are one soul in two forms. So that was verse 10. Now let's go to the verse 11. So let's see what's happening in this verse. कृष्णस्योच्चै प्रणयवसतै प्रेयसीभ्योऽपि राधा कुण्डं चास्य मुनिभिरभितस्तादृग् एव व्यधायि यत्प्रेष्ठैरप्यलम् असुलभं किं पुनर्भक्तिभाजं भाजां तत्प्रेमेदं सकृदपि सरः स्नातुर् आविष्करोति. So here it's described that among all the associates of Krishna Radharani is the most dear, and so is her Kunda. Kundam chasya munibir abitas. The Munis, the great sages, they worship this Kunda. And it is asulabham. It is very, very easy, difficult to get. Sulabha is easy. It is rarely achieved by even the greatest of sages. But kim punar bhakti bhajam, if somebody gets the opportunity to be there, that premedam sakrit. Then if someone gets the opportunity, then one should bathe in Radha Kund gratefully, joyfully, devotionally, and reap the profuse blessings that are available over there. So that is this verse. So now let's look at this. What do we mean? As I mentioned, the sense of devotion, the test of devotion is not so much ecstasy, but selflessness. Ecstasy means somebody is dancing and singing and fervent with devotion. Well, that's good, but that can be a show, that can be superficial, that can be sentimental. But the test of devotion is selflessness. How much is somebody thinking of Krishna? How much is somebody absorbed in Krishna? How much is somebody loving Krishna? That's selflessness. And Radharani manifests the topmost selflessness. She's concerned only about Krishna's happiness and the happiness of the various Sakhis. This is a very exalted pastime, and I will mention it very briefly here. So we'll try to do a visualization of this pastime now. So Krishna has played his flute, and he has called, and the gopis have come. And Krishna initially tries to tell the gopis. So if imagine now what I told earlier, try to visualize if you are there, you're observing. The gopis have left everything and come to Krishna. These are all the gopis, Lalita, Vishakha, Radharani, Tunga Vidya, Chitrali. All of them are there. And they are eagerly waiting to be with Krishna. And Krishna tells them, go back to your families. Krishna says, how can we go back, Krishna? The gopis say, if a river leaves the mountain and comes to the ocean, how can the river go back to the mountain? We have come to you for you, Krishna. And their fervent appeal makes Krishna accept them. They are with Krishna. And then they start performing the Ras Leela. And while the Ras Leela is going on, each gopi feels, oh, I'm so privileged, I'm so special, Krishna is with me. And then Krishna sees that, and Krishna, what is he doing? At one moment he is there with the gopis, and another moment is gone. What happened? Where did Krishna go? The gopis are shocked, devastated. And they are looking at each other, and then they notice that one gopi is missing. And that is Radha. And I think, what happened? Does Krishna love this gopi so much that he wanted to be only with her and he left us? Now Radharani is going with Krishna, and at that time she sees that Krishna has come with me alone. At one level she is delighted. Oh, Krishna loves me so much. He wants to be with me alone. How special. And at that time, then she thinks she's relishing and savoring Krishna's presence, but her selflessness is such that she thinks, how can I enjoy Krishna alone? Now, what will be happening to all the other Sakhis? They will be devastated to have been left alone without Krishna. And if they are devastated, they are shattered. How can I enjoy? So then Radharani tries to think, what can I do? And there is Radharani, she's speaking something to Krishna. What is she speaking? She's telling Krishna, we danced for so long, I'm tired. I can't walk any further. That's strange. If we are thinking about it, if we had time with Krishna, we wouldn't say, I'm tired. I'll go wherever you want if you want me to come with you. And Krishna seems displeased. Krishna is angry. Krishna says, you are a queen, but unfortunately, I don't have any palanquin for you over here. So just climb on my back and I will carry you. And Krishna says that, Krishna has disappeared. What happened? Radharani is frantically looking, Krishna, Krishna, where have you gone? And then Radharani desperately tells Krishna, I didn't mean to take you for granted. I didn't want that you should lift me. I only wanted that if we slow down, if we stop, the other gopis who are searching for us, they'll find us and they will also have your association. So, even when Radharani is with Krishna, she's not thinking about enjoying Krishna alone. She's thinking about the other gopis. And how can I give Krishna to them? This is the compassion, the mercy of Radharani. And that is the mercy of Radharani that is available to us when we pray to her, when we bathe in Radha Kund. And Radha Kund bathing is not just a physical activity of entering into the water. Yes, that's important. But we bathe in remembrance of Krishna, of Radharani, of her love for Krishna, of we bathe our consciousness in the remembrance of their oceanic pastimes and their oceanic reciprocation of love through those pastimes. So that is what is this divine reciprocation. So Radha Kund and Shyam Kund are just next to each other. Radha Kund is a manifestation of Krishna's love for Radharani, and Shyam Kund is manifestation of Radharani's love for Krishna. And in that way, both of them are actually, sorry, this is, so now when we go to a holy place, we go there not just for, now it may, we may say Rupa Goswami is saying over here, you should go and stay in the holy place. So should we just leave our jobs and aspire to go to Vrindavan and stay in Vrindavan Radha Kund? Well, yes, that's one way of looking at it. But we also have to understand that there is going physically and there is going in consciousness. Now we go there, our purpose is not the immersing the body in the water, it is immersing the heart in the mood. We want our heart to be absorbed in the mood of Radharani's selfless service. And how do we get that selflessness, that absorption, that immersion in service? That we get from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was himself in Vrindavan. But from Vrindavan, what did he do? Many people of his age, he was 69, 67, 68, he started going to Vrindavan and basing himself in Vrindavan from the age of 65 onwards. And many people of his age go to Vrindavan to settle over there. They want to spend my last years over here and I want to leave my body over here. But no. Prabhupada was there, but he wanted to leave Vrindavan. Why leave Vrindavan? He wanted to actually not leave Vrindavan, but he wanted to take Vrindavan in his heart and go to the Western world and from there all over the world and manifest Vrindavan over there. So Vrindavan is not just the venue of the Ras Leela or the Govardhan Leela. Essentially, Vrindavan is the kshetra of seva. Vrindavan is the domain of service, of selfless service. And wherever we are, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we have opportunities to come in the association of devotees. We have the opportunity to relish Krishna Leela over there, to relish Krishna Katha, to relish Krishna Seva. So we may have temples. In some parts of the world, we can't even have temples. But still, the point is that if we have an opportunity to serve, then that is where we can experience Vrindavan. That's where we can develop that mood. And by developing that mood gradually, we'll start relishing Krishna Bhakti in the mood of Radharani. So the essential message of the Updeshamrit is not so much leave everything and go to Vrindavan and bathe in Radha Kund. It is to take inspiration of what Radha Kund represents, that mood of selfless service, and try to develop that mood. And what is vital for us is the association of those who have that mood or who are at least aspiring for that mood. In their association, we will also develop it. So now all of us, when we hear about these exalted levels of devotion, we may feel sometimes I'm so far away from it. So we have to know what we should look at. So if we are feeling discouraged, thinking this is so far away from me, I'm simply caught in my job and my family and my health and my finances and this and that. I hardly ever think of Krishna so much, and where leave alone relation Radharani's love for Krishna. Then, when we feel like that, we need to look behind and see how far we have come. And all of us, whatever is our devotional journey, we have come far. We have definitely come far. If we look at ourselves, we'll see that we have been so materially obsessed in so many things, but now we have given up those obsessions and tried to become absorbed in Krishna. And we may have had some mundane habits. So many of them we are given aside, put aside. Some we are giving up gradually. So when we feel discouraged, we need to look back and see how far we have come. Yes, this process of Krishna Bhakti works. And how far have we come? Have we come that by our diligent effort? If we think about it, we have come this far not because of ourselves, but quite often it is in spite of ourselves. That means we we get distracted so easily, we get tempted so easily, we become so judgmental. We have so many ways in which we try to avoid Krishna. Hmm. But in spite of ourselves, although we don't chant attentively, although we don't really feel prayerful when we come in front of Krishna, even when we come in association of devotees, we are thinking less of Krishna and we're thinking more about how is which devotee respecting me and not respecting me. In spite of all that, still Krishna has brought us so far. So if Krishna has brought us so far, will he abandon us now? If he were an abandoner, he would have abandoned us long ago. If he has brought us this far, he will take us all the way. Krishna has not made us to be defeated. He has made us as souls to be victorious, victorious over illusion, so that there can be the ultimate loving reunion with him. So we can be encouraged by seeing how far we have come and how far Krishna has brought us. But then sometimes we might become very proud, thinking, I am such a great devotee, everybody else respects me. And then if we start thinking like that, then we should look ahead. Okay, I might be following these rules, might have read this book, I have this much knowledge, but then see how far we have to go. We'll hear about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstasies on seeing Lord Jagannath, or his absorption in devotion and going to Vrindavan. Look at the experience of the saints, look at the selflessness of Srila Prabhupada, and then think, I have a long way to go. And we become humble by that. So we need the right modality for us to stay progressive. So sometimes we need encouragement and sometimes we need humility. Of course, we need both at all times. We need to be encouraged and humble, but sometimes we need one more. And by having the appropriate frame of reference, we can keep ourselves progressively on the spiritual path. So this is how we conclude our journey of the nectar of instruction. So I'll try to quickly summarize. Before I do that, these are those of you who would like to continue exploring Krishna Bhakti uh, through some of my classes or articles or talks. So there are some websites I have online. Spiritual Scientist is where I have over 2,000 classes and 6,000 question answers. Gita Daily is where I write every day on the Gita. There are about 4,000 articles. And Spiritual Words Daily is where you can learn your vocabulary by writing about Krishna, by seeing new words used in Krishna's service. So I'll summarize and then we can have a few questions. I spoke today about Krishna Leela and how to absorb ourselves in Krishna Leela based on the last few verses of the Updeshamrit. So first theme was that from conscientious contemplation to spontaneous absorption. And the four stages, Shravan Dasha, Varan Dasha, first we hear, then we accept and assimilate, and then we move forward toward Smaranavastha, and then Sampati Dasha, that we become absorbed in remembrance, and then our relationship with Krishna is revealed. So whatever we contemplate consciously, we gravitate toward it subconsciously. That's a psychological principle that we can use when we are trying to grow in bhakti. And then the next verse we talk about the exaltedness of Radha Kunda. And in that connection, how do a dham exists in the material world but is not limited to the material world. So it's like a mainframe computer may have many more things than what we can access. Similarly, dham exists at multiple levels and we can access based on adhikar. I give the example of Bharatnatyam, how somebody might see just sensual dance, somebody might see just an artistic dance, somebody might see a devotional dance, and it's the same thing, but adhikar is different. So same way with Vrindavan, how we can perceive it. And for perceiving it, we discuss the triangle, that there is scriptural description, we hear from scripture, we hear from devotees, then sensory perception, we see with our eyes. And then when there is prayerful devotional contemplation, then one day there will be the divine revelation by which we'll see Krishna in Vrindavan. And then we discussed about how in the dhams there are, is there a hierarchy? Yes and no. Because there's no, because for a devotee, whatever they're experiencing, for Ram Bhakta, Ayodhya is the highest. And we respect that. Rasa is subject to experience. And we respect Rasa as the ultimate reality for that devotee. At the same time, there is Krishna's intimacy is manifest in Krishna much more than in any other devotee. And in that sense, that's special. And then we move forward. After that, we discussed about the principle of when we go and bathe in Radha Kunda. So there are different kinds of devotees, right from Karmis to Radharani is the topmost devotee. So bhakti is a growth in selflessness. It is not just about the ecstasy that we experience, but the service that we offer to Krishna. And bathing in Radha Kund is wonderful if we can do it, but the more important thing is not just immersing our body in the water, it is immersing in our heart in the mood of Radharani's selfless service. And Prabhupada exhibited that mood not by simply bathing in Radha Kund, but actually by leaving Vrindavan to carry Vrindavan in his heart and manifest it in various parts of the world. So Vrindavan, the essence of Vrindavan is Seva Kshetra. It is the abode of the place of service, and Prabhupada has manifested that in whichever devotee communities we have across the world. And there, if we serve and grow gradually in our devotion, then we all can experience Krishna one day. If we feel that it's so far away from us, we can look behind and become encouraged. If we start feeling I am such a great devotee, then we can look ahead and become humble. And by Krishna's grace, from wherever we are, Krishna has brought us so far, he will take us all the way to him and help us experience Krishna Prem by the blessings of Srimati Radharani. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. What a journey. What a journey. And I also wish to thank Jugal Kishore Prabhu for having connecting you with all of us and us with you. So by this connection, we will certainly have a journey with you. It doesn't end with the end of the Nectar of Instructions. It certainly is a beginning of another set of sessions that we will work out for you. Manju Mataji sent a message saying that the conclusion was very inspirational. And indeed, I wish to really say, this is a quotable quote, by the way, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Look behind to see how far you have come and be encouraged. Look ahead and see how far you have to go and be humble. That was really the crowning jewel, which really kind of sets the tone for us in our spiritual journey. So thank you very much. Jugal Prabhu, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhu, I just resonate with whatever you said just now. And we are praying and hoping and begging for the mercy of Prabhu that this is the beginning of our journey. And a lot more to come. I'm just waiting for the COVID to be over so that I can have personal association of Prabhu. And then a question also, which came to my mind, which is, you talked about that spiritual description followed by sensory perception, and then spiritual revelation by devotional contemplation.
Contemplate.
That was so good. And I guess we were very, very fortunate that whenever we have gone to Vrindavan, we have always carried with, I mean, rather, we've been fortunate to have the adhikar of our spiritual master, and we have always seen Vrindavan through his eyes. But just a question, when we give a spiritual description, if we
Actually,
are,
sorry, just clarify. It is scriptural description,
yeah,
not
scriptural,
spiritual.
yeah, oh, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, scriptural description, when we give, if we are good kathakars, then the scriptural description can be really wonderful. But when the person actually goes there may be a gap between the scriptural description and the sensory perception. So, what is your tips on
Yeah.
how we should give the scriptural description so that the sensory perception, even if it's not coming up to the level, how will the person balance this?
Good question. So, this even that after there is scriptural description, sensory perception of the dham can often be disappointing. It may, it is true. So I would say three things over here. First is that it is only when the scriptural description is there, then our sensory perception will be guided. So even when we go to Vrindavan, we are going to see, as I said, Loi Bazaar, where people are just hawking goods. Then there will be people, maybe thieves who are trying to rob things. So many things are there. But when the scriptural description, it gives guidance to our perception. Yes, all this is there, but I am not here for all this. See, at one level, we understand that Vrindavan is more than the material world. By the same time, Vrindavan is in the material world. It is more than the material world in the material world. So, what is happening in the material world will also happen here. If there is a storm, that will also get flooded. So, the scriptural description is meant to guide our sensory perception toward what is more over there. So, that guidance is not just, okay, what is more now? It's not that exactly what Krishna did 5,000 years ago, that's what we are going to see. But at least the scriptural description will guide us toward looking for what is more. And unless we are looking, we'll miss it completely. That's the first point. We see what is more than what is normal in the material world over here. That's what we seek. Then second thing is that even in Vrindavan, for each one of us, we need to find out the spots or the places that speak to us the most. This we cannot do immediately, but if we are visiting Vrindavan a few times and then we hear the kathas from the devotees, and then some places which strike us, this is so rich, this is so devotionally rich and relishable for me, then that is the place where we can first we are seeking and then we are experiencing. Oh, I experienced something over here. And say, for example, somebody who has heard a lot about Govardhan Lila and then they actually see Govardhan and then they hear about it and contemplate it and pray. This is wonderful. This is where I want to be. For somebody, it might be Prabhupada's Radha Damodar Mandir small room. Now that Prabhupada who went all over the world, he started from this small place. That might be what we might treasure. So it varies from person to person. So we find out the specific places where we experience Krishna and we cherish that. And thirdly, while we are visiting Vrindavan also, it is helpful if we keep that scriptural description constantly with us. That means that we can have some kirtan going on with us or have some verses glorifying Vrindavan. If you memorized it, just keep reciting that. Or if you have some Vrindavan Ashtakam or some other songs about Vrindavan, if we can recite it well and good, or at least have some recording going on in background, have some devotees doing kirtan, then what happens? Then at one level, of course, the sound glorifying Krishna is transcendental, but at another level, it is also coming to us through our senses. So then what happens is the sensory perception in Vrindavan itself may not live up to our dreams. But if we are ourselves generating some spiritual sensory stimuli, and then that comes to our senses. So we are not just seeing what is there in Vrindavan, but we are also seeing or hearing what we are ourselves singing. That's why going in the association of devotees, doing kirtans, or at least ourselves doing some reciting the names of Krishna, of Radharani, singing some songs. So we need to further generate spiritual perception in that place, so that whatever is the perception over there, we can minimize that. So sometimes we memorize shlokas, which is good, but don't just memorize shlokas, repeat them, relish them, and say if we are going to a particular temple, if we have going to Rupa Goswami's temple, say if we're going to Radha Govind, Radha Madan Mohan, then have some prayer about that particular deity and just repeat that prayer again and again and contemplate that. Maybe that will give us some higher experience. So those three things, the guided perception, then cherishing the experience that we get, and keeping spiritual perception, keeping spiritually generated stimuli for us to perceive. Those can help us in a sense see beyond whatever is the mundane sensory perception showing us in Vrindavan. Does it answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
So, do we have any more questions from any of the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis? Please feel free to ask the question. Unmute yourself. Okay, Sunaja Mataji, please do ask. I see your hand raised.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, it was a very enlightening session today. So I have a doubt, like Prabhuji explained that there are different ways in which we can grow spiritually. There are different paths. So I just want to know like how much that we engaged in a spiritual exercise or spending time exclusively for connecting with the Supreme God help us to grow spiritually. And one more, can I ask one more question?
No, can you explain this question? I'm not clear. How much time we spend, or what is the question exactly?
Like when we engage doing spiritual exercise or spending some time exclusively for bhakti or connecting with the highest power, like the Supreme God, like how it will help us to grow spiritually. And what is the role of being compassionate, like being compassionate or humble, will it be helping us to grow spiritually? And will we be able to identify or feel or sense that I have awakened the soul or grown spiritually? Prabhuji, I hope you complete.
Okay, let me repeat the question and see. So you are saying that on one side we contemplate on Krishna and how much time should we spend on that. And other side is being compassionate to others, being humble in our dealings with others. How much will that contribute to our spiritual growth?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yes, both are important. Broadly speaking, a devotee devotion is exhibited in two distinct ways. One is for transcending the world, and the other is for transforming the world. Transcending the world means we all need some time when we just leave the world behind through our hearing about Krishna, through our chanting about Krishna, through our puja to Krishna. We just become ourselves immersed in Krishna. So that is transcending the world. That's vital. Because that is the experience of Krishna that will sustain us. Otherwise, if we're constantly engaging with the world, we'll start thinking that this world is the ultimate reality and Krishna will become remote and irrelevant for us. So we need some time for exclusive and intense immersion in Krishna. And that is where our sadhana comes into the picture. Now, along with that, we are all meant to focus on also the other aspect of bhakti, that is transforming the world. And transforming the world means that where we act in the world for bringing Krishna's love into the world. So we act in our family responsibilities, we act in society, like you said, we are humble in our dealings with others, we are compassionate to those who are in need, and we bring, it is not just our compassion that we are bringing. See, it's good if we are compassionate and we bring our compassion to others, but think about it, we are finite beings. How much compassion do we have? If we spend some time connecting with Krishna, then what can happen is that we become a channel for Krishna's compassion. So then our compassion is limited, Krishna's compassion is unlimited. And if we become a channel for Krishna's compassion, then what we can do for others will become much more. And in that way, a devotee's compassionate activity is also permeated with the service of the seva bhav for Krishna. And that compassion is important. So generally, as devotees, we want to exhibit compassion in a holistic way. Somebody is in need, we can offer them some help. Somebody is sick and give them some medicine or some practical assistance we do during their sickness times. Somebody has there's so many people who are in so much distress across the world, we might give some charity. Now, these are good and they have their place. Now, if we can help people connect with Krishna, then that can offer them enduring benefit. So compassion is vital in devotion. Compassion is integral to devotion, and compassion needn't be seen as separate from devotion. That means, okay, this is my devotion and this is my compassion. This is what I do for society. Rather, what I do for society can also be an expression of my devotion to Krishna. At the same time, for it to be an expression of devotion to Krishna, I need to myself experience devotion to Krishna. If I have not experienced devotion, then I am not really going to express devotion to anyone. It's going to be only my compassion, and my compassion is finite. So I will not be able to do as much good as I can to others if I am doing it myself, as contrasted to if I am connecting with Krishna and becoming an instrument of Krishna. So that's why for devotees, we need both aspects. We transcend the world through our sadhana bhakti, and then we transform the world, at least contribute to transforming the world through our seva, through the various activities that we do in this world. Does it answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, that means we need to keep a balance of both. It cannot be neglected, both should be.
Yes, of course, yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other question? There's appreciation from Manju Mataji again. She says, superb explanation for real life dilemmas, transformational versus transcendental aspects. That comes from Manju Mataji, Chaitanya Prabhu. So any other question or a comment or a reflection that any one of you wishes to share?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Kuldipika Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Speak a little louder.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Nectar of
Yeah.
instruction, nectar of devotion is very, very tough to understand, among us. But you very nicely, very easy way to, for us to understand the way you said, we got it, everything nicely, Prabhu. Thank you so much to explain very nicely. And we forward to hear from you in future also, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Happy to be of service. Yes, nectar of instruction can sometimes seem too instructive.
Yes.
And, I try to make it as possible analytical and then devotional.
Yes.
I'm happy to be of service. And yes, Rasa Prabhu and Yugal Prabhu also, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's wonderful to be able to share Shastra directly and to also connect with sincere devotees, thoughtful devotees like all of you. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, thank you very much for your association. And as both myself, Jugal Prabhu, and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis will indeed look forward to your continued association, in the future, for which we will work closely with you. And based on your schedules and conveniences, we'll work out some more sessions as we go along, because one of the objectives and missions of School of Vedic Studies is to continue to systematically study Srila Prabhupada's books and learn it from expert teachers and practitioners like His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I would like to, culminate some of the key points that came out today from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's session, which kind of my takeaway. One, which was the beginning, right in the beginning, he said, Bhakti is an inner journey. Yeah, so we bring about many external changes in our life, but I think the real Bhakti is the inner journey, the inner battles that we have to fight in order to progress in this wonderful path of devotion. And if we have to bring authenticity in our inner journey, then the point that I picked up is that of selflessness. And the epitome of that selflessness and the highest motivational symbol of that selflessness, as very aptly pointed out by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu from the verses that we did today, is none other than Srimati Radharani. And last but not the least, the point that Prabhu made about immersing the heart in the mood. So I think inner journey means working on the heart, and the heart can be worked upon only when we develop selflessness in this path of devotion. So thank you again, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. These are very wonderful pointers that you have actually brought out. They are very reflective, meditative, and contemplative. And I think all these three aspects are part and parcel of making our inner journey more and more sincere and serious. And we would certainly like to have you as our one of the key teachers, so that we continue in this journey in a serious and sincere way. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So again, Jai Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyascha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So again, we thank you,
just one last word I would
everyone.
like to speak.
Yeah, please, Chaitanya Charan.
One last word.
Absolutely. No.
When I was thinking about Prabhupada's mercy manifesting all over the world, so how in the Middle East many of you don't have really the facility to build temples, but in spite of that, we have one of the most flourishing devotee communities outside India in the Middle East. So that is, so we may, just as Vrindavan is a physical place, but it's more than a physical place. It's the mood. So that mood of service and mood of bonding in a society community, that is manifested vibrantly in various parts of the Middle East. And Prabhupada, when he was there was not much outreach happening in the Middle East. I would say for Prabhupada and his movement, all of you are precious assets, and you are also evidences of the potency of Krishna consciousness to actually raise consciousness in any part of the world, even when certain vital resources like temples are not present. So temples are present, that's wonderful. It's not present, still Krishna consciousness can work on our hearts and work in our communities. So all of you are doing a wonderful service, and I feel inspired whenever I come to the Middle East and see all that you are doing there. So my gratitude to you and my appreciation to all of you also. Thank you.
Thank you again, Prabhu. No, thank you so much. And I wish to share, Kishori Mataji writes, a quote she picked up from your talk today. whatever we contemplate consciously, we gravitate unconsciously. So that's really wonderful, and again, this particular quote also takes us into the realm of inner journey, because ultimately we are contemplating consciously, but it goes into our subconscious and then comes in handy when we actually face the world around us. But so that was another wonderful point. And I also want to announce to all the attendees today, all the respected Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, that tomorrow we have an Awakening the Soul event, which Jugal Kishore Prabhu and Kishori Mataji have put together. And that is with His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu in the morning tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. All of you have received the invites. Register yourself, and we will have yet another wonderful talk with His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. So please do keep that on your calendar. 11:30 tomorrow with Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Awakening the Soul is the event under the auspices of Awakening the Soul. All right. Any last word, Jugal Prabhu? Unmute yourself, Jugal Prabhu.
Yeah. One of the points which made me ecstatic today was selflessness is rated higher than ecstasy. What an ecstatic point that was. Thank you.
So on that, so should we end on an ecstatic note or a selfless note?
Let's end on a
Please,
selflessly ecstatic note.
So wonderful. Thank you again, everyone. And we look forward to again, meeting Prabhu tomorrow morning at 11:30. Till then, thank you again, Prabhu. You have a good night and a restful sleep. And let's wake up to yet another day to serve the Lord and His devotees. Good night, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.